All right, today we're jumping into a book that for decades has totally changed the way people talk about money, Rich Dad, Poor Dad. And it promises a revolution, not necessarily in your bank account, at least not at first, but where it really counts, in your mind. So let's kick things off with the big question the book asks. I mean, have you ever really wondered about this? How can two people put in the same hard work, day in and day out, yet one just seems to get ahead financially while the other is constantly struggling just to stay afloat? Well, the book's whole argument is that the answer isn't about your salary, and it's not about luck. It's all about your financial education. The whole book is built around this really simple but super powerful contrast. See, the author, Robert Kiyosaki, basically had two dads. His poor dad, his actual father, was a brilliant, highly educated guy who did everything you're supposed to do: get a good education, find a stable job, and seek security. But then there was his rich dad, his best friend's father, who was an entrepreneur and saw the world of money in a completely different way. All the lessons in the book come from their totally conflicting advice. All right, so that brings us to what a lot of people say is the single most important lesson in the whole book. And it's a concept that once you really get it, it completely changes how you look at every dollar you ever spend. This quote right here, this is pretty much the foundation of the whole philosophy. The idea is that most of us are out here playing the game of money with the wrong rule book. We're buying stuff we think is making us wealthy, but in reality, it's actually keeping us stuck. So what's the actual difference? You can forget all this super complicated financial jargon. The book's definition is just radically simple. An asset puts money into your pocket. A liability takes money out of your pocket. That's it. It's really just a basic cash flow test. Does this thing generate income for me, or does it create another bill I have to pay? Okay, so let's make this real. An asset? That could be a rental property that's bringing in cash every month, or stocks that pay you dividends. On the flip side, a liability is that expensive car with the high monthly payment, the insurance, the gas, or that loan you took out for the latest phone. And get this, the book argues that even your own house can be a liability if the mortgage, taxes, and all the upkeep are just draining your bank account without putting anything back in. So what's the end result of all this? Spending your life piling up liabilities instead of assets? Well, you get trapped in what the book famously calls the rat race. And man, this is a cycle that so many people find themselves in, right? You work harder, you get a raise, awesome. But then what happens? Your expenses go up. You buy a nicer car, a bigger house, more liabilities. And before you know it, you're right back where you started, needing even more money. The only answer seems to be to work even harder, and that wheel just keeps on spinning. So how in the world do you get out of it? Well, you flip the whole thing on its head. You have to stop working for money and start making your money work for you. And you do that by systematically buying assets that generate income on their own, what we call passive income. That right there is the path to breaking the cycle. And this idea, it really goes deeper than just financial tactics. We're talking about a much more fundamental shift in what you truly value, what your ultimate goal really is. And this is where the two mindsets really collide. The poor dad mindset is all about job security. The ultimate prize is a steady, reliable paycheck from a good employer. But for the rich dad, the goal is totally different. It's financial freedom. It's the ability to live the life you want without ever having to work for a salary again. See, true wealth isn't about having a high-paying job. It's about owning assets that pay for your life. It's amazing how this one simple idea has had such a massive, massive impact. This message really struck a chord, not just with financial experts, but with everyday people all over the world. I mean, just let that number sink in for a second. Over 40 million copies sold around the world. That's not just a bestseller, that is a global phenomenon. It just goes to show you how many people are out there looking for a different way to think about their money, their job, and their future. This book didn't just sell copies, it kicked off a movement. But of course, with that much influence, you're gonna get some criticism, right? And what's interesting is that the book's biggest strength, making complex ideas simple through stories, is also what people criticize the most. Some say it oversimplifies how hard it is to actually build wealth, and that maybe the stories are a little exaggerated. So while it's praised for being incredibly motivational, it's also criticized for not being a detailed step-by-step roadmap. And that really brings us to the key takeaway here. Rich Dad, Poor Dad probably was never meant to be a technical investment manual. Its real power, its true legacy, is that it's a catalyst. It's a tool designed to just shatter those old ingrained beliefs about money and spark a huge shift in how you see the connection between your work, your time, and your wealth. And all of this really leads to the book's biggest, most provocative question. If these ideas are so fundamental to how we succeed or fail with money, why on earth aren't we teaching them in school? It really makes you think, doesn't it?